So over the last 200 and something episodes, I've been talking about Hashimoto's as two different things. There's the thyroid portion and there's the immune portion. And in the last, 10, 15 episodes, I've been more explicit about this two different system framework. Today, let's explore what it's like to use that framework for yourself. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition. That means your immune system is attacking your thyroid. But knowing that is only the beginning. This summer series is built in 3 phases. Phase 1 was understanding what's happening in your body. Phase 2 is learning how to think about what you're learning. And phase 3 is building your own personal discernment framework with support. So most women with Hashimoto's have a lot of information. Well, what they're missing is a filter, a way to evaluate what applies to them specifically. That is what this series is now designed to give you. If you want to start with a foundation, check with the show notes for Hashimoto's Decoded, new name, Hashimoto's Decoded, Thyroid or Immune. In less than 1 hour, I will walk you through the most common root causes and help you identify where to focus. My name is Esther Yunkin. I'm a registered nurse, holistic health educator, and the host of this podcast, Health with Hashimoto's. I believe your health is a blend of 5 interconnected areas: body, mind, spirit, diet, and environment. Let's work through this together. So let's go back in time to when I first got my diagnosis. So if you haven't listened to I think it's episode 2, maybe 3, is my story. And in summary, I had this horrible eczema rash, but it wasn't eczema. And I had it for a couple different winters. It was getting worse. I went to my chiropractor to do some allergy testing. What is causing this? And she looked at me, did an evaluation. She's like, I think it's your thyroid. Did some labs. My labs came back that my thyroid numbers were borderline. I did not need any medication, but my antibodies were up. And she said, you have Hashimoto's. So then I had to dive into all of the information. What is Hashimoto's? Because again, if you've heard my story, 4 years of nursing school, 17 years in the ER, went back to school for holistic health education. You could stop me on the street and ask me about virtually anything related to diseases, body processes, things going wrong, health goals, anything. And I could tell you body, mind, spirit, diet, environment, a little bit about what was going on and some initial steps. Because that was my passion. Helping people with their health. But one thing that had always confused me was the thyroid. Different things go up and others go down, and your TSH is way high, but that means you're hypo, you don't have enough. What is going on? I was always confused. So when I first got my diagnosis, I knew 2 things. I knew there was a thyroid component. After all, Hashimoto's full name is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It is inflammation of the thyroid. I also knew that it was an autoimmune condition, so I knew there was an immune component. I have been talking about this for 200 and something episodes, that there are 2 different systems in this scenario. You have your thyroid bucket, you've got your immune bucket. Over the last, 10 or 15 episodes, I've been more explicit about that divide because I want you to see Hashimoto's in this framework. And when you're thinking about your next thing, I want you to be thinking, okay, what is related to my thyroid? What does my thyroid need right now? And what is related to my immune system? What does my immune system need right now? What is one small thing I can do today or this week or this month to help my overall health? The whole person, body, mind, spirit, diet, environment, looking at it in those 2 different buckets, the thyroid bucket and the immune bucket. So back when I got my diagnosis, I was looking at those 2 different things. I was looking at the thyroid bucket. I looked at the labs. I figured those out. My husband was able to help me. He's also a nurse. And so approaching the thyroid bucket, I see my labs, they're borderline. I look at the ingredients that my thyroid needs in order to do its job well. I think I made one adjustment in one of my supplements. Other than that, I really didn't deal with the thyroid bucket very much because I was more focused on the immune side of the 2 different systems. Obviously, there was an attack going on my thyroid, and I wanted to slow or stop that attack. So I needed to focus on my immune system. At the time when I got my diagnosis, there was not anybody teaching root causes, not at least that I could find easily. Yes, there were books and there were video courses that I did not feel like I had time to do right then. I wanted something super quick that I could figure out, like, okay, these are my root causes. I didn't want to have to go in for more lab testing that cost tons of money. I didn't want to have to pay for a big course that was going to take me a month. I didn't feel good right then. I was exhausted right then. I wanted answers right then. And really, that's why I created Hashimoto's Decoded. In less than 1 hour for $27, you're going to be able to get all those answers. Common sense. Here's the thyroid bucket. Here's the immune bucket. Here's what's going on in each. Here's what different things feel like Hashimoto's or hypothyroid symptoms, hyperthyroid symptoms. When you're looking at the immune side, here are the most common root causes and the triggers. Like, I go through all of it in less than an hour because I know that you probably don't want to spend a ton of time, money, or energy figuring yours out either. So back to my framework, I'm looking at myself, my labs, my symptoms, and everything that I know through these two different buckets, this framework. I looked at the thyroid, and then I looked at the immune system. I figured out the root causes. And for me, I was already gluten-free, although it was not my choice. I struggled so hard. I did not want to go gluten-free. My youngest, when he was a tiny baby, had eczema head to toe, and he was exclusively breastfed. So I had to do an elimination diet for his sake. A lot of times we won't do something for our sake, but we will for our kids. And that's what happened there. And then gluten ended up to be fine for him, but my body really appreciated that break. And so I can never go back to it myself. But I don't think, like, based on that knowledge, I don't think that gluten or the AIP diet would have been something that I tackled right away. Even knowing that diet is so hugely impactful for so many people who have Hashimoto's, I think that I probably would have started with what I did start with. Even if I was eating gluten at the time, I probably would have gone to sleep and stress because I was so bone-weary tired. Like, I felt horrible. I was slurring my words because I was falling asleep while reading a book to my kids in the middle of the day. I was exhausted. And that was so frustrating because I was trying to get some good sleep. And the Hashimoto's was stealing my energy. And I was not okay with that. I also was pretty sure that there was a stress level component because as an ER nurse, like, it takes a lot to fluster me to make me feel stressed. And yet stressors still happen. And even though my mind, my emotions can deal with stress and, like, I don't feel it, it's still impacting my body. So those were the first two things that I looked at when I looked at my diagnosis and the time in front of me, like a week to a month to a year. Like, what can I work on first? How can I feel better? What's going on with my thyroid? What's going on with my immune system? And what can I tackle first? And that's what I want for you too. I want you to be able to know what is next. Like, what happened to get here and what happened next. So I hope this, like, illustration of the framework and how I worked through it helps you. My teenage son, young adult son, he's now 19. He asked me the other day how my podcast was doing. And he specifically wanted to know money. And I turned the question back on him and I said, you asked how my podcast is doing, but I never said that money was my most important metric. Like, how are you gauging success? And he looked at me kind of like, why would you gauge success for anything else? And I explained, I started the podcast out of a need that I had because there was nothing simple, clear, easy, and available right then when I needed it. I wanted to teach via a podcast so that anybody, anywhere can learn for free. Every single week, you can tune in and you can learn something about your thyroid and your overall health so that you can feel better. And there's over 160,000 downloads of my podcast so far. Thank you so much. That means so much to me because that's my mission, is to help others through the podcast. And now also through Hashimoto's Decoded, as I get to take you in less than an hour through what took me a long time and so much frustration to be able to learn. That's my goal, is to be able to help you learn quickly and easily so you can feel like yourself again. There's a lot of information out there, but really there's nobody teaching you how to sort things, thyroid and immune, and what to do next. And so that is what this episode was. That's what Hashimoto's Decoded now is. It is what I want you to be able to do. Sort your stuff so you can easily know what to do next. I'll see you next week. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any changes with your trusted healthcare provider. To take your next step, join our school community and explore the courses available there. You do not have to figure your health out alone. So that is school, SKOOL.com, and it is the Health with Hashimoto's community. I'll see you next time on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.